and welcome to the first episode of Waffling On. This is UBX the morning after, and it is very early, very much feeling it from last night. I'm joined here by Dan, and we're going to give our first thoughts on what was the hottest show in more ways than one for UBW, marking a decade of just excellence in the ring. And there's so much to talk about, so I guess, where do we begin?
At the beginning.
I think it's fair to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Absolutely packed house as well. The balcony was full. There were mayors from across Hertfordshire in attendance, as well as familiar faces and not so familiar faces. But we started hot with a big feud between two guys who know each other very well, two big guys
who don't like each other very much either.
No, there's a lot of bad blood between these guys going into this match, which played out almost instantaneously.
Yeah, and we have a new ref. We should mention that.
Yeah, I think everyone was expecting the arrival of Nick. I had spied him beforehand. We were primed with a sign to welcome him aboard, but we had Samuel, I think, came out.
Making his debut.
And what a tough one to call.
Yeah.
What a tough one to be in charge of first out.
So it went off like an absolute firecracker.
Yeah.
Just some of the heaviest hit moves I've ever seen.
Yeah, we do expect the ring to shift when Levi's around and when Ian is in there as well. Actually, we should just say the opening bout was LEVI MUIR versus Ian Rosario, which had the bad blood from the fact that Ian's actions cost Levi the title. And yeah, just a barnstormer to get on.
But the most vicious crossbody I've ever seen in my entire life. And then, unfortunately, Levi's heavy hands broke Ian in half.
Yeah, I mean, it was a surprise to everyone that it was quite as ferocious as it was. But possibly, in hindsight, we shouldn't have been that surprised. But it laid Ian low, and the match was done. Was there a pin? I'm trying to think. There was a...
No, it was the dreaded... The referee X.
He called it off, so Levi had to stand down, and we had a hiatus from the action while the medical staff were called to see to Ian. Devastated for him. Personally, big fan of both guys, but I've wanted to see these guys hit each other in the UBW ring for quite some time, and I know that from what Ian was saying beforehand, he's instigated the whole thing. So he's looking forward to this in a massive way. And for it to have fallen so short in terms of his expectations of what was going to happen is a real shame for him.
Yeah, and I don't think this will be the end of the feud. I think this will only light the fire in him again once he's up and mended, and we'll see him take on Levi again.
Yeah, unleashing demon mode of Ian Rosario, demon time for Levi MUIR. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I was looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
This one I had down as possibly my match of the night on the card because I knew that it would shake the building. But people were shaken in a very different way. But I look forward to the next round. I really look forward to how this is going to play out from here on out. And best wishes to Ian and a speedy recovery. And come back to the ring soon.
So next up was the long-awaited Square One Championship match.
I mean, how long have we been waiting on this one?
Since May, is it? I think.
May, yeah, announced in May with the win for Harrison.
The Battle Royal.
The Battle Royal. But this has been bubbling for much longer than that.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys have been at each other's throats. I mean, if we go way back, these guys were really seem to be very good friends. Hurricane Rana last year in October, they had a bout, and there was a handshake afterwards, appeared appreciation, and then turned into something very different. And from then, two different paths. I know that Harrison's had a lot of interaction across UBW and Square One. He's challenged for many of the titles, but it's always been this bubbling away in the background.
Yeah.
The Square One that seems to have been the big driver for him. So before we give away the result for anyone, be aware spoilers will be throughout this. So if you want to watch it on the UBW YouTube channel, please take in the matches before you listen to us completely make a hash of the reporting. But no, it was great. The crowd went absolutely wild as they always do, for the glitter baller. Trademark, I'm taking that one. And Tony. Let's just call him Tony. Let's not give him the affectation he desires. The Druids were in tow. I couldn't, beyond count, I can't remember how many of them turned up.
26, I think, in the final.
26, I think that sounds about fair. Maybe I think you've underestimated that somewhat. But yeah, they filing out to welcome the most successful Square One champion to date. Obviously, we're hoping that might not be the case for too much longer, but I think he's had the most defences and the most victories whilst Square One champion, that being Tony Sin. But to not give away anything else as to how the match went. It was another personal feud, the second one of the night.
Yeah.
And we had a mixed crowd, I would say, for this one.
He's, I think because Tony Sin is such a brilliant bad guy, you can't help but want to get on board with him and wait a little bit. But, I mean, Harrison is the fans' favourite of fans' favourites, isn't he?
Yeah, I had a couple of people next to me at ringside who may or may not have been related to me, saying, he's so tall.
I mean...
And shiny.
Objectionably, he is very tall. Yeah.
He's a hell of an athlete, which was shown in the ring. And I think that's why we saw Tony trying to take him down, grind him down to a level where maybe his size advantage, maybe having two legs wasn't really an option. I would say the one thing I was disappointed by in the match was I didn't get to see Tony Sin spun around, helicopter spin potentially, round and round, and then let fly out the ring. But early on, it seemed Tony didn't want any of it. He was trying to escape from the ring and just flee to the back.
We've seen that before from Tony Sin. Obviously, he ran away against Hugo Blue. I think he may have done it more than that as well, but Harrison dragged him back and, well, beat him up in the end.
Yeah.
I would say it was just a fantastic match between two guys who have the best chemistry. Like, just wonderful.
I mean, I was looking forward to this one going in, and another spoiler here, this could have been my match of the night. Obviously, there are so many that we're going to cover here, but this one, to get the crowd going, it felt like UBW X was going to be something special when this one came in. The crowd's reaction, and then the reaction at the end to the victory for
Harrison Leon.
Harrison Leon and the new Square One champion was absolutely immense. I think even those who've been cheering for Tony Sin beforehand were over the moon to see to Harrison to finally take that belt. And I mean, throughout the belt, Tony Sin being catapulted over the top row and flying all over the place. The front row was not a safe place to be.
No. And the most devastating submission we've ever seen on the ropes, just hanging upside down and dragging Harrison.
Yeah.
And then, but again, spoilers, for the ending, a top rope famouser was just spectacular and a fitting end to what has been a tremendous rivalry.
Yeah, well, personally, I hope that it's not come to an end, but I think that we're going to see Tony step away, tail between his legs potentially, because that's so in character for Tony to go quietly into the night. We'll have to see what comes next. I mean, there are a load of guys at Square One who are lined up to vie for this title. We'll have to see who steps up.
And Harrison has already made it clear he's going to be a fighting champion. He's going to be there every time, ready to take on whoever's next. So
yeah, he called out Tony at the previous show, Back to Basics, saying that he's not going to shirk responsibility should he win the title. He's there. I'm sure he'll be true to his word. I look forward to seeing it. But given the size of the man, it's going to take some effort to take that man down.
It's a big task. It's a big task. Good luck, guys.
Yeah. Good luck, everyone at Square One. Let's see what happens next. Coming in hot after the Square One title match, we had another belt on the line, or not belts rather on the line, and this one was, what do you say? It's a legacy match. This is what UBW X was all about, showing where it began and where it was now. And I think I said in a preamble beforehand that we are talking about the future of Brit Rest in the Odyssey, Adonis Payne and ARTEMIS. But they're also the now, very much so, across so much of British wrestling, very much in demand, and the title holders for UBW. And they were going up against some older faces, shall we say, but still junior for me.
Some legends of the game in Paul Ash and Phil Bedwell.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, what a match.
Yeah, you don't know what you're going expectation-wise. You think it's going to go one way, but Uncle Phil, he's a really mean man. I've seen him wrestle for a number of years, but he really did seem to be in a bad mood last night.
He didn't like Adonis's knee, did he? He didn't seem to be particularly fond of that. He spent quite a lot of time trying to hack him down.
Yeah, and he wasn't just Adonis that he had some spared for Artemis as well, and people weren't happy about that.
No, but it was offset by the thrill of finally seeing Ash and Adonis Payne facing each other down in the ring.
Not just smiling at each other and threatening. We actually got the
It's been a long time coming, and I think Ash was pretty happy to finally get his hands on him.
I would say before my recent change in opinion on Adonis Payne, I'd looked forward to this, and I think I would have been very happy to see Mr. Ash absolutely annihilate the young upstart. But there's an affection that I didn't have before for the guy, but it was still secretly satisfying to see him swear. But no, just awesome. Yeah, absolutely awesome. We had high spots in terms of high above the ring, and there was Matt Kraft, but for a lot of the match, someone was laid low by some really, really strong offense. Not least from Artemis, as always, running through the field when numbers were against her as well, just laying people low. And this is why the Odyssey have done so well and retained belts and claimed more in the last couple of months.
Yeah, taking over the British scene one step at a time, ignoring the old age wrestling tag teams for men. Artemis goes in there, takes anyone on, puts them on the back.
Yeah, I know that you've spoken at length about Adonis's promo prior show. Just saying just that about the fact that people are labelling them as intergender, whereas we're looking at wrestlers. We're looking at a tag team, a dynamic tag team with all the strength. And I know obviously you're a big fan, considering what you've chosen to wear today. But you've seen them across the country.
Yeah.
Where does it end?
I hope there isn't an end. I hope it rises to the very top, and I genuinely, I would love to see it, and I don't think anyone deserves it more than those two.
Absolutely, they've worked hard, and they are ambassadors for the sport, and ambassadors for UBW across the country. They're absolutely fantastic. But that's enough about Ash and Bedwell. But we have to say something about the veterans who came in.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys were integral to UBW, let's say, day one. We had the 10-year turnaround for this match, and these guys, despite saying this was their one last match, it looks like they've been working together for the last 10 years. We know they've been together for much longer than that. But they hadn't missed a step. They still work so well together.
No, and to give him his little shout out, the condition that Ash is in and the work that he's put in to get to this match is truly inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, it's for anyone who's followed, and Ash spoke at length about this last night on the show. He was in really poor health, and certainly for his own opinion, not where he wanted to be, and it just looked incredible last night.
Phenomenal.
Both physically and with his ability to fly around the ring. I mean, it was hot. I was exhausted sitting down, and they were showing not an age of their 36 years last night as they were doing the rounds. But a great match. Prediction-wise, where did you have this one going?
I could never back against the Odyssey.
Yeah.
No.
Same here. It was I wouldn't have been averse to seeing the new breed take the titles, which I think Destiny says should be theirs. But Legacy, Destiny, we're looking at something very special in the Odyssey, and we'll be talking in years to come and very same things. about those two guys. So the result was a win for the Odyssey. They continued the Odyssey as UBW Tag Team Champions. But do you think we've seen the last of the new breed? They said one last time.
Yeah. And whether it is just one last time against the Odyssey, or whether that spark's been lit again and we see them a little bit more.
Phil's been very much doing a lot of singles action of late. Yeah. And I think that Ash has some unfinished business with a certain person in singles contest. It's not going to be the last time we mention this man, but who could we be talking about there, Dan?
I don't know. It's a conspiracy, man.
It's all a conspiracy, man. Maybe we're just propagating the conspiracy. Maybe we'll leave that for another time. We will come back to that one. But no, a result for the Odyssey. Who's coming next for those guys?
Line them up. Bring the best that Britain's got to offer, because they show no sign of stopping, no sign of slowing down, and by my guessing they'll steamroll at everyone.
Well, I don't know if I'm so confident about that. It's what I'd love to see, but we've seen the Black Crown go up against Westside Heat of late, and those guys, a double count out. The referee, I think, it wasn't a double count. The referee
stopped
the match. He'd lost absolute control. So there's a lot of tag team action to come, and there are a lot of strong tag teams. I mean, we could mention Progressive Overload, but I did say strong tag teams. So we'll stick with maybe Westside Heat or the Black Crown as the real challengers there to the ground.
I don't think I'd fancy getting in the ring with Josh King.
No, he's a very angry man. I suppose. Jackson Hart. We'll talk more about him later, but that guy's on a roll. And Westside Heat, you can never bet against those guys.
They don't get tired.
They don't get tired. I think even last night might have tested that, but let's see. Tag team gold still with the Odyssey. There's more to come.
Okay, so then we had the crowning of the first ever Women's UBW Championship, the culmination of a tournament featuring 8 of the best women around. We narrowed it down to the final 2, Darcy Stone and Ronnie Knox. And we had a beautiful, shiny new belt.
Yeah, it was spectacular and glittery as it was brought out. And it was just, I mean, if that doesn't motivate someone to try and challenge, which obviously they did for this belt, I think they upped their game for this. But I think they also, the clash of styles here showed there was real animosity going into this match as well. I mean, you mentioned the depth of competition that we had going into this. First, the finalists. We had Darcy Stone, who'd overcome Penelope Cottontail in the quarterfinals, and then MUIR, which was a surprise to me, in the semi-finals. And then Ronnie on the other side of the draw, who'd beaten Bo Bells, I think in the first match of the tournament, and showed a real disregard not only for the crowd but for her opponent. And then I'd have to say there were some shenanigans in a victory over Aluna in the semi. There looked to be some kind of rope hold for leverage where there shouldn't have been. So maybe one more deserved finalist than the other.
Yeah, and it got off to the kind of start you'd expect. Darcy is, as the name suggests, a complete firecracker. That's her style in the ring as well. But Ronnie's just, I mean, universally unpopular, but she will just wear you down and wear you down and wear you down. And that's how it went, really. Yeah,
Ronnie just engineered a victory. She's not always spectacular to watch, but she knows her game.
She does.
She knows her strengths as well. And as an aside, I have to say that I'm not a fan of Ronnie Knox. And the way that she bludgeons people and wears them down, so much so that I actually cheered Vinnie Cray in a match where he took on Ronnie Knox. I found myself in a very strange situation where I was giving Vinnie some support. But no, it's the clash of styles and the submission moves and just causing pain. I know that obviously Darcy gives us the energy and the explosiveness of her action, but Ronnie takes it and then just grinds.
Yep, she's got all the tools to to break your body down and slowly grind down. She plays off the crowd wonderfully. Who, as I said, I don't think I've ever known a champion in UBW who is as unpopular as Ronnie Knox, and I don't think he bothers her one bit, to be honest.
I think it just means that it forces her to, or pushes her to do more evil, to basically just hurt people. And I know that obviously the end of the match ended with a submission from Darcy, who was just in such pain. And I'm surprised at the end of the match, Darcy was in such a state. I know it was hot as well. She was just unable to move. I think the pain she was in following that last move.
Yeah. And
the pain of defeat as well. But the respect that Ronnie showed when she was handed the title just exemplifies Ronnie on the whole, snatching the title from a local dignitary.
Yep.
And just parading it in everyone's face.
Yeah. And now a reign of terror begins in the UBW women's division.
Let's not speculate on who comes next, but I would warn anyone who's going up against Ronnie, don't expect your shoulders to still be in their sockets or for you to come out and be able to just walk around or stand normally the next day. She just knows how to cause pain. So be warned. Be warned. But basically, it shows that we've got that strength and depth in what we call the women's division, although obviously UBW has always been very strong on the fact that a wrestler is a wrestler. Mm-hmm. We now have a specific belt challenge just for the women, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
No, there's so many good matches to make, and I look forward to one day seeing Ronnie lose that belt.
Oh dear, Ronnie, if you need someone to practice on, I think someone's just put their hat in the ring.
So after we crowned the first ever women's champion, then we had an over-the-top battle royale, the first ever Chase Anthony Invitational over-the-top battle royale. So Sunset Skip, RJ Singh, Arthur Scurro, Jackson Hart, Josh Spicer, and Ricky Calvé were all involved.
Oh, was that everyone that was involved?
Now, I don't remember Josh King being announced when he was on his way to the ring with Jackson, but
he didn't look like he was dressed for him.
No.
A pair of moccasins maybe, and a lurking, maybe only for sport for Jackson, but he got involved a little bit later on. He just can't help himself, can he?
And it was everything that you'd expect a battle royal to be. It was chaotic, with the strong dads linking up, being strong.
Being strong. There's a lovely moment where they hit back to back and turn on each other and then shake hands, because these guys have been, two more stalwarts of UBW for the first 10 years. Skip was the first UBW British Heavyweight Champion, and RJ's had a stellar career involving UBW and beyond. Mm-hmm. And they embrace the strong dads are strong, and then I think RJ got caught up in the moment and started attacking Skip.
And eventually they both went sailing over the top rope together.
Well, it's nice that they do that. Friends should do that kind of thing. Which left us with a lot of energy and bad blood again, left in the ring. I know that my prediction for the gauntlet match that manifested there into this was that Jackson Hart would come away triumphant. It seemed that a lot of people may have thought that. I know that you may have backed him as well.
Yeah, Jackson's just been on such a good run, and he's been tearing through people. I really think he's evolved recently, and he's a main event star now. So I couldn't see past him for this one.
I think the same must be true for the rest of the combatants, because they decided to gang up on him and eject him. But luckily for Jackson, it wasn't over the top rope, and leaving 4 people to battle it out in the ring to see who's going to be the winner.
And it looked like it might be Arthur Scurro's time for a little while. Ricky Calvé, always strong.
Absolutely, always spectacular, as much as it pains me to say. But we had a man in the ring who's not on a great run since he lost the Young Lions Championship. Josh Spicer has maybe struggled for confidence and certainly for victories. And it looks like it's building up to something. He had a lot of energy. He was doing back to his normal self.
Yeah.
And it looked as if, with everyone else out of the ring, he was going to stand towards the invitational winner.
Yeah, well, Spicer was up on the turnbuckle, taking in his victory, but as we just mentioned, Jackson didn't go over the top. Spicer seemed to have forgotten about that, and back he came.
Yeah, reminding Josh Spicer about kicks that he's taken to the chin, the ones that have laid low Leo Edwards before, and claiming the victory. Maybe not a popular victory.
No, but then Spicer, obviously absolutely incensed, took out his aggression on Jackson. Maybe that feud's not quite done just yet.
I mean, I've enjoyed seeing these guys go at one another for the last couple of months. It's been heartbreaking to see Spicer come out on the losing end every time, but it's, as you say, Jackson Hart is main event material. We shouldn't be surprised. Let's get Josh Spicer back the way we know he can be. Main eventer as well. I mean, let's see where this goes. The feud's not over. And so to the main event, which was for the UBW British Heavyweight title, held on the night by Memes, who made what you've described as the most spectacular entrance you've potentially ever seen at a UBW show.
Absolutely fantastic. Memes with a big sword.
Yes.
And a lot of other memes.
Memoids, I think we'll call them memoids further. And spectacular indoor fireworks.
Yeah.
To welcome the least popular champion, as far as I'm concerned, in UBW history, to what looked a likely win for him, considering the run he's been on as well.
Yeah. I should mention at this point Hugo Bloom's new gear.
Oh.
A sighting neon. But yeah, who would have thought we'd have a match of this quality at this point in the night? And such a hot, long night. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was, before we get into the rest of it, it was immense. But we've got a man here across from the champion, Hugo Bloom, who sat here with me weeks ago telling me how his arm had just been repaired surgically. And he hoped to be back in the ring at some point in the future. He's had the golden shot from the ladder match last year, which he can cash in to take any title. And I thought he'd gone too early. He's seen Memes disrespecting the title. He's disrespected Cy Gregory and other opponents post-match, and Hugo's been intervening just to bring some respect back to the brand and the cachet of being the title holder. And now we have, for us, an unexpectedly early cash-in and clash for the main event of UBW X. And where to begin? Oh, we've tried to get our heads around what we saw last night. It's still fresh in the memory, but so much.
So much. Just weapons, violence, a special guest referee.
Absolutely. For a last man standing match, we were awaiting the arrival of the Stripes, and we didn't get it.
No, and as many people might know, there has been more bad blood between Memes and UBW General Manager Chase Anthony. That's been bubbling for a while. We wondered where it was going. And to everyone's surprise, Chase made himself the ref.
Yeah, I must say he did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
He was unbiased in every sense, apart from one thing which we'll talk about later. But no, it's been boiling. The disrespect that Memes has been showing so many people, not least Chase Anthony, has got people's backs up. And that's the whole reason we had this match. It was just time that Memes was taught a lesson.
And this is the perfect type of match for that as well. It's a match that really gives both competitors a chance to just do awful things to each other. And they did.
And they absolutely did. As a last man standing match, I don't know what I was expecting. It certainly wasn't 50 kilo sandbags to be brought into the ring, amongst other things. So there was a hammer.
Thor's hammer.
Thor's hammer.
Unexpected. Kendo sticks that got broken in half.
Many kendo sticks.
Tables. Steve on fetched the tables, and they were fetched and they were broken. It was non-stop action, and it was exhilarating.
And wince making.
Yes.
It was just to see two guys go at each other like that and put through just torture, but in search of that belt. To have that title on their shoulder, it meant so much. We had the surprise of the special guest referee, but that wasn't the end of the surprises. Last summer, the UBW or ex-UBW tag team champions had fallen apart, the heavyweight heartbreakers, and the Wrestling Outsider put out a search for Brad Tannen. We hadn't seen hide nor hair, and we were getting really worried. We looked across the country. We've been up and down the UK with missing posters. We even asked Colin Jackson at a sporting event if he'd seen him. No, not a chance. And then all of a sudden, he pops up.
The music hits.
The music hits, and out comes the heathen heartbreaker.
Yeah. And it rushed to the ring, wiped out memes, and then surprised everyone by instantly turning on Hugo.
I don't know why we bothered. I was concerned the man was missing. I wish he'd stayed away. But that wasn't the end of it, was it? I mean, Hugo has a lot of history with the company. We should say it's a 10-year history, the same as so many of the guys who were there last night, which means that he has allies and enemies for a decade. But possibly his strongest friendship came to his rescue. Yeah,
and someone that we haven't seen for a long time. But once more, the music hit, and out came Percy Traynor.
Most of Percy Traynor. He's got a lot less hair than I recall, and or more strength people with less hair. But no, it was great to see him back, and showed what needed to be done. Took Tannen out of the equation via throwing him face first into a wall, and let the action continue. And how much more could these guys take?
No, and then it would, after the tables, after the weapons, it would take a very large board with some very heavy sandbags on it, and a Hugo Bloom, and a hammer to keep memes on the floor for what must have been the most triumphant 10 count of all time.
It seemed a little slow, but I was all the better for that. Before then, there were close calls. There were what must have been several 9 3/4 counts, as well as maybe some far shorter. These guys were not staying down. They were so mindful that the stipulation was, if you're down for the count of 10, the match is lost. But there were times when I thought memes had it in the bag.
Yeah, I mean, he threw all of his arse like Hugo. He hit him with the signature moves we've come to know, finish matches, and it looked like Hugo was done more than once, but his resilience was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, unsurprising, but for a man who's been through what he's been with the surgery and the rehab, to have stood tall and shown physical offense. He wasn't shirking responsibility or the moves to get this done. At one point, picking up the editor-in-chief of the Wrestling Outsider and using her as a weapon to floor memes outside was obviously my personal favourite moment. But yeah, out of nowhere, the pedigree. This is done for so many people. And you've seen people pinned past that and then lay in the ring for minutes. So to beat a count of 10 after that, once, twice, 3 times, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and it helped build what was one of the most, if not one of the most memorable title matches we've ever seen in UBW.
I think it's one of the crowning moments of the whole of UBW X to come and have this massive match at the culmination and to have such a popular result, certainly personally. And I must say, in my heart, I wanted Hugo to win. On my predictions, I followed my heart, probably against common sense, but it came out. I'm over the moon. Absolutely fantastic. Yourself?
I thought Memes was going to win. I thought this reign of terror would go on forever. And I'm delighted that it's not.
And I think another person who's not delighted would be one Chase Anthony, who, although an impartial official for the entire contest, did maybe get a bit more involved than we'd expect.
He did. And I mean, Chase, that was a beautiful stunner. Congratulations.
And we'll say no more. And the 10 count. Love it. That was the end of the night. Or was it?
No, because then we had our Hall of Fame ceremony.
The Hall of Fame ceremony, but before that we had a thank you.
We did, sorry.
From a local official.
Oh.
Councillor Dan Allen came out to thank everyone for making UBW X such a success and for sticking around on a very hot evening when there was a million reasons to be outside getting a little bit cooler. People stuck with it because it was fantastic. But as we know, people with shiny gold chains, mayors, as we had in the audience, UBW has their own, and he wasn't particularly happy that Dan was having the ring to himself.
No, and keeping up the bad blood that we'd seen running through the evening, Vinny had attacked Dan beforehand, told him to stay away from this event, and wasn't shy in getting back in the ring to show Dan what he really thought of him.
With his massive shadow, big weight behind him, he sprang through the curtain, gave the audience the welcome that he normally does, and the audience reciprocated. Hashtag not my mayor. And he tried to set things straight to show who was the only mayor of UBW. Did he succeed?
He succeeded in hitting Wade in the face with a belt, if that's what
he intended.
Yeah.
He did very well. Did he hit Dan at all?
I don't know. I definitely remember Amy slapping him in the face a few times. I'm not sure if he actually got his hands on Dan.
No, it was a sad turn of events, but only if you're Vinnie Craig. So, a fantastic final chapter to the combat for the evening, if unsurprising. But congratulations, Amy. I think a career in the ring awaits. You've certainly got a place in my heart for what you've done to the so-called mayor of Cray City. Maybe that'll put him in his place.
I doubt it very much.
I very much doubt it. And so, as you've mentioned, we had the first UBW Hall of Fame inductions as well. 10 years in the making. The class of 2023. 3 individuals who no one can argue have a place in the hearts and the DNA of UBW from day one and beyond.
Yeah.
I know the first inductee was someone that we were hoping would make the final cut. We thanked him last year for everything he's done for UBW. An absolutely spectacular performer in the ring. CJ Carter, pure evil, but pure brilliance as well. A deserved entry in. Surprise to him, I had spied him earlier in the evening, but he was completely unaware that he would be granted this accolade. Deservedly so.
Rightly so. And he was part of my entry to UBW. That was about the time I started coming to the shows. And his rivalry with Charles Crowley was just fantastic.
Yeah. Big up to Charles Crowley. Future Hall of Famer.
Hopefully so.
Absolutely no doubt there. The second inductee was a man who has been, let's say, not popular within UBW, but a big part, certainly of the early days. Paul James, an aggravating man, from my memories of him. Sadly, couldn't attend, but was able to be in contact with everyone via a live stream. Paul Ash mentions what he did for UBW in the early days, and it can't be underestimated. The influence he's certainly had on the generations that have come since. But I remember hating him. So I think he did his job very, very well. We wished him all the best. I very much hope to see him at an event in the near future where I can sneer at him face to face as opposed to congratulating him at a distance. But no, another worthy entry into the Hall of Fame. And so that was the two entries for this year that we had to the 2020. But wait, there was one more surprise. But who was this person?
Yeah, and I don't think anyone, well, obviously no one would ever argue with this person going in the Hall of Fame, but Justin sprung a surprise on him. Paul Ash was the third member of the 2023 Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I would say the class of 2023 and every future class should have Paul Ash in. We can't underestimate the influence this Paul, much as Paul James has had, on just how UBW is today, as well as British wrestling as a whole. He's lauded for his ability to train new wrestlers as well as perform himself in the ring. the accolades that he was being given and the call list of people that he's trained who have gone on to absolutely fantastic careers and continue to this day is just exceptional.
Yeah.
So big up to the class of 2023. May we see your like again every single year. So that was UBW X. That was 10 years of UBW, culminating in a Hall of Fame entries and a popular title win. But I think it would be remiss to not take this opportunity to look back and say, in those 10 years, what's stood out to you as possibly the match of the decade?
My favourite match, from the moment it happened, my favourite match has always been Charles Crowley against CJ Carter. I think it was the fifth match in their run. CJ Carter was winning 4-0, and he came out in a coffin, like the pure evil was at his pure evil list. And there were so many near falls, and then Crowley somehow took the title win. And if you look back at the match on YouTube, you'll see the entire place fall silent, apart from me and Alfie, arms in the air, cheering. Again, what was a very unpopular result, but Charles Crowley's always been that guy. So
yeah, he's got another mention here, and he's going to get another mention. I think I've got a few matches that stand out for me. The Bone Brothers taking themselves from Bad Altitude was brutal and exceptional. But my match of the decade, I think, possibly because it springs to mind because it's only recent, was Hurricane Rana last year, where Charles Crowley took on Truman Roswell, then UBW champion, in a casket match, and in what was possibly not a popular result, Truman triumphed again after having been resurrected by Tony Sin, but the match had everything for me, including a ref unconscious at ringside, so the resurrection could take place. It's a shame that we can't see that match every week. I love a casket match, but this one had just everything for me. And the crowd were hot for him.
they were.
Much as they were last night. Beyond matches, though, there's one moment that stands out for me in the 10 years as a moment. And that's when Evie Madden, speared Eden through the curtains, and I think completely out of the building. Biggleswade in my spiritual home, and I think I still haven't drawn breath since that. That was an absolutely spectacular moment. And all these years later, it still just makes me smile to think about it. Are there any single moments, maybe not victories or particular matches, that stand out for you?
I think it was the moment after he won the Floyd's Lava, when Truman Roswell earned his title shot, and then he beat Spike Valentine in the best of 3 falls match in at WrestleMania, and just to see the journey that he'd gone through, and then for Truman to become the champion, that was brilliant. Loved it.
I mean, I think we can both agree here that we had 2020 True, where he was unbeatable. Maybe Truman should still be champion.
I don't remember him ever losing.
Was there a loss? I can't seem to recall. And if it did happen, I'm choosing not to remember it. I'm hoping that guy looms large in the future, certainly in the title scene. But it just goes to show, with the people that we didn't even see in action last night that have come up in that conversation, that UBW is in rude health. And so is British wrestling as a whole. And we see that across the board. We've had a decade of UBW. I look forward to the next. So hopefully there'll be a little more discussion in between. But until then, UBW XX will be there.
We will.
Fingers crossed. And we hope you will be too. Take care.